Okay. Yeah. Prof Knudson,
Yep.
thank you for accepting my request for having an interview.
Sure.
It is so glad to. I'm so glad to be here.
Good.
It is so glad to be back in UF.
Yeah.
Last time I was here, you were the vice chair. Now you're
That's
the
right.
chair.
That's right.
And so I will ask you some questions about mathematics, most likely about administration in your case.
Sure.
And in the next 15 minutes, I would like to get your advice, get your insight in what this profession is.
Okay.
So I'm just putting a timer, and when the time goes off, we can just say thank you.
Okay.
So that won't be taking too much of your time because you're a busy man.
I am busy. That's right.
So maybe I should start with, what is this profession? What are the parts of this job for you?
Oh, well, so when I was a teenager, I decided I wanted to be a mathematician.
Okay.
And I just thought, well, I want to be a college professor and be a mathematician.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of strange how I've gotten where I am, because I just figured, first of all, I had no idea what a mathematician did. When I was 14, I just thought, I'll just go to graduate school and get a PhD and be a mathematician. People would say to me, well, what do you have to do to get a PhD? And it's so funny to think back on this now. And I said, well, I don't know, I guess you write another calculus book, right? I mean, because I don't know what it's like in Turkey, but I mean, in the U.S., they hold up calculus as sort of the pinnacle of mathematics, right? And so surely there's nothing beyond that. And so, of course, I quickly learned once I got to university that it's not at all like that. But I just fell in love with it more. And never really wavered. I was always a math major, always knew I was going to go to graduate school. Sort of the supreme confidence of a 22-year-old thinks, yes, I'm going to go, and I'm going to be a professor, I'm going to get a great job, I'm going to, all these things. Of course, things never work out like you think they're going to. I mean, things have worked out great. I mean, I can't complain at all about how things have worked out for me. But I've had a sort of, interesting career. I had a postdoc at Northwestern, and then
you were in Duke, I guess.
I had a PhD at Duke, and then a postdoc at Northwestern. And then my first tenure-track job was at Wayne State University in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And, never pictured living in Detroit.
I never knew that, and I have a really fun story about Wayne State.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, when I was applying for grad schools, Wayne State was my safety school. And they were the first one to send me an offer.
Sure.
Then University of Wisconsin sent me an offer too.
Okay, yeah.
Which, of course, I wasn't going to pick Wayne State. No offense to them.
Sure.
But University of Wisconsin was, they were saying that I would be a TA, they would be paying for my tuition, everything. Wayne State was saying that they would only pay for my tuition and no job with that. So I told them that I have a better offer. I don't want their offer. I thanked them for the offer that they made. Then they sent me a new offer after that for a second time. I thought they were going to just negotiate.
Sure.
But they said, we're not going to pay anything if you want to come. The second offer was that
it was worse.
Exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
So I didn't respond to that email.
Yeah.
I hope nobody got hurt feelings.
No, I'm sure they did. No. I was there for 3 years.
Yeah.
I really liked my colleagues, and it was a wonderful department, but it just wasn't the right place for us.
Yeah.
Then I moved to Mississippi, which is another strange story, but rural Mississippi, which surprisingly wasn't that different from Detroit. And I spent 7 years there and really, had some good friends, but needed to move on. And I got involved with the honors college there, and eventually became the associate director of that. And then I came to UF to be director of the University Honors Program.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, so I came here to be that. And, of course I was still a mathematician. I had tenure in the math department, but I had no duties over here. So it was sort of a strange relationship. I mean, I got here, and the chair at the time, there were tenure cases, and he said, okay, I need you to vote on these. And I just got here, shouldn't I just abstain? And he said, no, you just need to vote. So it was a challenge for me to get to know my colleagues here, because I was never here.
You were right down on the campus.
Yeah, that's right. I was over on another part of campus, and I was 100% there. I tried to teach once a year just to sort of keep up. And in those 5 years that I did that, I mean, I rather enjoyed the work, but mathematics took a real backseat. I didn't publish anything for 5 years, and
But I think it's also coming back with your graduate students now, right?
That's right. So,
Yeah.
so you know, once that was done, I decided I wanted to come back to mathematics, and so I came back over here. I had a year of research leave. I wrote a book. I guess we got back into the idea of being a mathematician, which was really rather nice.
So was that a calculus book?
Almost. Morse theory.
Yeah.
Morse theory is just calculus on a manifold, right?
That's true.
You know, after that year off, I came back, and the chair at the time was Professor Senzer, and he needed an associate chair, and so I said I would do it. And so, you know, I'm good at administrative work, so but that was a very challenging job too. There's a lot that goes on in this department. That particular associate chair job is really challenging because it's sort of responsible for all the course scheduling and managing the TAs and dealing with the undergraduates and advising and all of that. It's a lot of work. So I did that for 3 years, and now I'm chair. I'm in my second year as chair.
On your first year as a vice
Yeah.
chair, I remember that you stood up for me actually. A student found something that I did unfair, so he started emailing every dean and the provost
Okay.
from top down,
Yeah.
to the point it came to you,
Yeah.
and you asked me what was happening.
Yeah.
It was, I cannot even imagine how many of these cases exist on the back room.
Well, surprisingly few.
So it was my fault.
No, it wasn't your fault.
Of course.
I mean, it is. I can count on one hand the number of times that it's actually been a problem with the instructor. Students have certain expectations that are often unrealistic. Let me put it that way. My general response when I'm still getting those that sometimes they come to me, and my general response is I ask the instructor what's going with you,
Yeah.
what's going on, and then it's almost always the case that the instructor is actually doing the right thing and there's no problem. So that part of the job is actually, it's encouraging to me actually that it doesn't happen all that often.
Mm-mm.
Not as often as you would think. Sort of surprisingly not as often as you would think. It's because we have really good faculty and graduate students who take the work seriously. You know, I mean, you were a particularly good example of this.
Thank you.
Just very, well prepared, wanting to do a really good job, and that's most of the battle, right? I mean, if you try to do a good job and you prepare well, okay, and then if you're engaging, and you have a very engaging personality, students like you, so I wasn't concerned.
Maybe I should add to that the UF Math department is really open. If you want to do more, if you are willing to do your job,
Sure.
if you like teaching, UF is really open to actually give you that
Absolutely.
space to do more.
That's right. Well, and I mean, sometimes it's out of necessity. We've hired so many faculty in the last 2 years, though, that it's less of an issue now, so that we really can, instead of not. I didn't want to say we conscripted. It wasn't like we drafted graduate students, but we kind of needed some graduate students like yourself to step up and take on those sort of large lecture responsibilities. We don't have to do that so much anymore, which is kind of encouraging. It's a nice space to be in. But yeah, no, well, some graduate students aren't interested in teaching. And that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, they're planning on an industry job, and the TA line is just a mechanism to pay for graduate school. That's
true.
fine. And in those cases, all we want is for them to just do their jobs well.
Discuss problems, grade papers.
Just be prepared, grade, do the things, but yeah, if you don't want to do anything more, really take that part seriously, or, not seriously, but make it more of a focus, then that's fine. But we also have several students who want to, work at a small liberal arts college, for example, where teaching is going to be the focus. And so, I think that's an important part of the training. And the truth is, it's getting more and more challenging to have a research career in mathematics, just because of the numbers of positions that are available and all
That's
of
true.
these things. And so, many of our students who want to be professors are going to end up at more teaching-focused institutions, and so it's important for them to have the appropriate levels of experience. On the other hand, it is a challenge also to make sure that you don't overburden students, so that holds up their graduation, right? Because ultimately, you are a student first. You know, you had how many papers you had when you finished, but that was sort of the goal. That had to be your primary goal, even though you were glad you always took your teaching very seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I wasn't thinking about it that way. I knew the reality of the job market.
Mhm.
I knew that most of the people that do want to do research are going to end up in more lecturing heavy positions.
Sure.
And that happened to some number of my friends.
Mhm.
Some of them even left mathematics
Sure.
to do this thing. And I left the United States for
Mhm.
that, to do some more research.
Right.
But I didn't knew that department was, I could have guessed that department was aware of that, but I never knew that department was also concerned about this.
Well, that's a generational thing. I think, you know, the people before me, sort of the older generation before me, you know, I think they just sort of, they came up at a time where they got their jobs over the phone, you know. And so
Yeah.
I think people my age who, you know, finished in the mid-90s, where the mid-90s were better than the early 90s, but, you know, still not great. I mean, you know, I still remember sending out my job applications, and it was on paper in those days, math jobs didn't exist. And I spent about $80 on postage just mailing these packets. And I sent all this stuff out, and I had exactly one offer. Now, it was the one I wanted, so I can't complain.
Yeah.
I had an NSF postdoc. But, you know, and I think things have gotten better, but, you know.
With the math jobs or in
No,
general?
I mean, just the job market, I think, is a little better than it was 20 years ago in some ways, but in other ways not. And, you know, funding seems a bit uneven. You know,
That's always the case,
From
yeah.
state to state. And,
From department to department even.
Sure, that's right. So, you know, we're fortunate to be able to hire a lot here in the last 2 years, but I don't think we're going to hire much more going forward because we just hire all these people. And that's sort of you know, boom bust cycles. But, you know, it's an interesting profession. I mean, I can't imagine having done anything else. I still love teaching. I still like teaching calculus. You know?
Definitely, yeah. Same for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to ask, there's also the outreach aspect of this, right? Because there's not that much outreach of mathematics. At least people don't know what mathematics is.
That's right.
As you said, you thought it was calculus, and you're right, in Turkey it is also the modern mathematics, which is calculus. At least my mom knows it as modern mathematics. Nowadays students know it as calculus. We don't know what it is. So there aren't, what can be done as an outreach? So
Yeah.
my plan was to chat with mathematicians. I heard that just today that you told me that you have a podcast.
I do, yeah. So yeah, my podcast is called My Favorite Theorem. You can get it wherever podcasts are listened to, iTunes, Spotify, all those places. And in that podcast, I work with Evelyn Lamb. She's a freelance writer. She's a mathematician as well, but she left academia. We talked to a mathematician about their favorite theorem. And then the fun part is we ask them to pair their theorem with something. You like food and wine pairings?
Yeah.
So you pair your theorem with something. And it could be food or art or whatever. That's kind of the fun part of the show. We've had a really good time doing that. It's been really interesting. We try to have a very diverse group of mathematicians. At least half of the guests have been women. And we're really trying to be very inclusive in that way. For a while, I wrote for Forbes online. I did that for a couple of years, and then it just kind of wasn't worth my time anymore.
Yeah.
Just from not that I cared about the money, but it was they changed the terms, which made it really not worth my time. And so I stopped doing that. But I had great fun doing that too. I think math does have a bit of a PR problem, right? I mean, you've experienced this. If you're at a party of non-mathmaticians and they find out what you do, it's go, oh, I hated math.
Exactly. I was always bad at math.
Yeah,
I
it's
hated
like,
math.
okay, all right. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we can do a better job in that regard. But part of the problem, of course, is that math gets sold in school as a sort of bag of tricks, right?
Yeah.
It's like these sort of algorithms that don't seem connected to anything.
Yeah.
And what mathematicians know, of course, is that
It's just training logic.
That's right. Mathematics is beautiful,
Yeah.
you know, and we're really looking for, you're looking for patterns, right?
Mm.
I mean, that's really what mathematicians are looking for, patterns. It's extremely beautiful, and it's a very creative discipline that requires a lot of, you know, insight, innovative thought, and it's exciting, you know, and we really, you know, and the thing is, you know, every 5-year-old likes math.
That's true.
You know,
Yeah.
they love to count, they love shapes, they love geometry, they love puzzles, you know? And then we sort of beat it out of them at some point. So, has it been 15 minutes already? Wow.
That's always the feeling.
That's
I have to say.
That's what the timer says, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We could have one last question if you want.
I would love to.
Yeah.
But we were just saying that math has this PR problem.
Yes.
Right. Do you think it's also due to the fact of the type of people it attracts, at least to some extent? Because math also attracts a particular type of people which sometimes maybe are not the most social in a sense. Or is it the case that people's, not hatred, but people's dislike of math is creating these, pushing this group away?
It's an interesting question. You know, I mean, I think there's a serious difference between professional mathematicians, sort of university level mathematics, and the reasons that people don't like math.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because people start to lose interest in math around the time they're 10, and that's when you start to introduce the abstraction.
Yeah, that's.
Then they start to not really understand, well, where did X come from, you know? And, or fractions are problematic. My mother always used to say, she said, fractions have no practical purpose. And I said, Mom, you know, she baked. She baked all the time.
Yeah, turn us a cup.
Of course you. She was funny that way.
So,
you know, but so, I mean, yeah, I mean, professional mathematicians, it's true, we're a weird bunch, right? I mean, you know, and you walk into any math department, I mean, you know the old joke, right? How can you tell a mathematician likes you?
I'm not really sure, but I would love to hear the rest.
He looks at your sheet.
Oh, I heard this joke in a different way.
Yeah.
I heard this joke is, how would you identify an extrovert mathematician?
Yeah, he's looking at your shoes. Right?
Exactly.
That's right, yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
But of course, there are also some wonderful communicators in mathematics, and they're very good about speaking public. So, you know, we have some really good communicators, like Stephen Strogatz, for example. He is wonderful at this sort of thing. And other people like him. And, you know, I think we need more of that. But in the end, I'm not really sure what to do, because I think, you know, we've set these systems up where we've kind of taken the beauty out of mathematics for children, and then sort of, you know, the ones who like it, like us, you know, we were always just going to do that, and so it worked for us, and so we made our way through, and here we are. I would like math to recapture some of that joy. Your viewers won't be able to see this, but you know, here's Euclid's Elements, right? The first 6 books in Burns' edition of this thing. You know, it's beautiful. You know, the geometry is really beautiful, but you know, I don't know what geometry was like for you in high school in Turkey, but you know, in the U.S. it's this slog. I mean, it's really the time in school where you learn logic. Right. That's essentially what it is. It's a logic course, and you know, it's this ridiculous 2-column theorem proof thing where you know, like, okay, this is true and here's why. This is true and here's why.
Okay, at least it was just like that for me. More so like that for me.
Right. So you know, but plain geometry.
Amazing.
It's beautiful, and the compass and straight edge constructions and all this stuff. It's just really wonderful.
Or just as a short book, Flatland.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the plane geometry makes a really great case of how there are more dimensions, how the plane geometry itself is already is really versatile.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
So I would like to, well, I don't know if there's ever been beauty in mathematics in public schools. It's hard to believe, but I think we need to try and get there. So.
All right. Well, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great.
It's a pleasure.
Well, I will definitely listen to your podcast. I'm so interested.